In this exciting episode, I'm going to show you how to grow several types of basil indoors. Hi everybody, I'm Alan Schaefer at Custom Garden Solutions. Today I'm going to show you how to grow 3 of my favorite types of basil: Italian basil, red Rubin basil, and lemon basil. Basil is part of the mint family, and I found this interesting. Some of the other members of the mint family are thyme, lavender, lemon balm, oregano, sweet marjoram, and rosemary, to name a few. A lot of people use basil in spaghetti, pizza, pesto, or salads. I use it all the time in salads and spaghetti. In spaghetti, I use mostly the Italian basil. In salads, I add the 3 types of basil we'll be reviewing today: fresh oregano, tomatoes, then I grate beets and carrots, and I add spinach, kale, beans, peas, peppers to my salad, and I don't even need any salad dressing. There are over 60 identified types of basil. Each of the 3 types of basil we're growing today have a big taste difference. The Italian basil is the most common and used in many dishes. It's good for salads, spaghetti, and pesto. It's known as a sweet basil. The lemon basil smells like, well, lemon. Probably why they call it lemon basil. And it has a light, citrusy taste of lemon. Many chefs use it in desserts and drinks like iced tea, for instance. The red Rubin has reddish purple leaves that look very ornamental, and I think they kind of taste like black licorice, and they're very pungent. Now let me put these down. I'll put a link to Amazon down below in the description, and you can click on these and pick them up pretty inexpensively. Click the Show More if the link is below the fold. This is basil that I'll grow indoors, and it's going to stay indoors, although you can bring it outside if you like. The reason is I like to keep a lot of herbs in the house because I use them a lot, and I don't want to have to go outside or have to wash them. I also like to keep a bunch of plants in the house because it keeps the air fresh, clean, and healthy. Before I show you how to grow and care for your basil, I want to answer one question. Is basil good for you? Generally, herbs are power-packed with nutrition. Nutrition, ounce for ounce, in basil and other herbs can be 100 times that of your everyday tomato or pepper. Basil is really good for you and is considered one of the healthiest herbs. Originally, I was going to provide details on nutritional and medicinal benefits of basil in this episode. The benefits were so numerous and interesting that I decided they need their own episode sometime in the near future. But today I will provide a quick summary, so here we go. Basil helps prevent atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis. That has to be the word of the day just because it's so big. But atherosclerosis is the narrowing of artery walls because of plaque. It prevents heart attacks and stroke. Basil has anti-inflammatory effects. Basil fights breast cancer. Basil helps prevent and fight heart disease. Basil has antimicrobial properties. Basil eases arthritic pain, and basil helps fight stress. And as I mentioned, more is coming on health benefits in an episode coming soon. So there's a couple reasons why you might want to grow a couple different varieties of basil. One is that you may want to just have a couple different varieties for the different tastes they offer. But studies have found that different varieties have different medicinal and nutritional benefits. So you may want to cover all your bases and just eat more of the different varieties. Or you may want to eat a specific variety that addresses a specific illness or condition you or somebody you know may have. I'll cover all that in an upcoming episode about basil's medicinal and nutritional benefit. The other reason why you may want to grow basil yourself is that it's really expensive in stores. And you can see for yourself that it grows really abundantly. All right, put that down. I mean, I was at Walmart the other day and I saw a 0.75 ounce container of not so good looking basil cost $1.98. I mean, an ounce or two may cost you $4 or $5 and it isn't that good. Okay, as far as what kind of pot or container I use an old pretzel container. And I drill 8 to 10 holes in the bottom. And what's really cool about this container is that the lid serves as a great saucer on the bottom to either bottom water, or if I want to water on top, provide drainage. You can use just about any type of container, but I really suggest something that allows drainage on the bottom. If you want this exact container, you can go to an Aldi food store and pick one up. It's just Clancy's pretzel rods. And I've got a bunch of these containers and they just absolutely work great. So I use a soil mixture, and I'll put a link to the video I did with that information in the description down below. But generally, you want nutrient-rich, well-draining soil. I'll add some Happy Frog fertilizer, some vermiculite, some rock dust, some worm castings, maybe some peat, all into the soil mix. As far as sowing the seeds, I'm looking to grow 5 or 6 plants in this small container. Now, this may seem a little unorthodox, but if you look at my results, you understand what I'm doing. I'm growing indoors and I harvest frequently. I don't ever want the plant to be 2 or 3 feet high. I want them to grow 12 to 18 inches and I want to keep them under the lights. I harvest frequently because I eat a lot of basil and it just keeps growing back. And this works great for me. So just spread some seeds. And I overseed a little bit. Just take some of the seeds and just spread them through. I'm not worried about overseeding. Like I said, I'm trying to get 6, 7 plants in this little area. It says 1/4 inch deep. But just overseed a little bit. You get a ton of basil seeds in each package. Just tap it down a little bit. Then you just want to water them in lightly. All right, so now we've watered the top. Remember when I was talking about the container that we had the lid? And the lid basically serves as a drip pan or a saucer on the bottom. And if you can tell, there's about when you push it to one side, there's about 3/4 of an inch of clearance here, all right? So you don't want to be disturbing the top when the plants are germinating. So what I do is I'll water from the bottom, like so. And I'm just going to put a little water in there. And that'll soak up the water through capillary action, and it'll keep the top of the soil moist, but you won't disturb it when you water it like I did earlier, all right? So throughout the germination period, I'll probably water from the bottom. Once the germination starts and the plants start growing, then I'll water from the bottom probably 75% of the time, and from the top 25% of the time. I do want to water from the top and kind of push some of the minerals through, nutrients and minerals through, and from the bottom is what I do most of the time. So just leave these in indirect sunlight until they germinate, and that's probably going to be about 7 to 14 days. And then once they have germinated, you can put them in direct light for at least 6 hours a day. I do it for about 16 hours a day, but you can probably do a lot less. So after you sow your seeds, you don't need to put them in direct light until they start to germinate. Once they start to germinate, you want to get them in direct lighting. You want to keep the light as close as possible to the plant. I'm using LED lights here, all right? And since LED do not give off a lot of heat, basically no heat, you can keep it an inch away from the plant. So I would have these lights lowered, all the way down to right over the plant. And I would just raise the lights as the plant grew. If you don't do that and the light is too far away from the germinating plant, you're going to get a lanky plant because the plants are going to be searching for that light and they're going to shoot up and they're not going to be healthy. So again, your germinating seeds don't need any direct light. Once they germinate, you want to get the light as close as possible. Now these are about a month or two old, all right? And the LED lights are adjustable, as you just saw. And I just gave all these a trimming. So they've been trimmed and they'll be watered. So they're going to shoot up again in the next couple days. I check on these about twice a week when I think they may need some watering. Basil will do great at about 70 to 75 degrees, which is the temperature inside my grow room. Outside they like 60 to 90 degrees, and they'll survive temperatures as low as 40 degrees as long as they're healthy and mature. All right, so let's talk fertilizer. You can use fertilizer if you want, but wait until the basil plants have grown a couple of months. If you start with a good soil mix, you shouldn't have to fertilize for several months. I have still not fertilized my basil plants yet, and they're about 2 months old. When I do fertilize, I use Happy Frog fertilizer, and it's a 3-4-3 fertilizer, and I'll just add it to water, and I'll water it in. I'll put a link down below to Happy Frog, and you can check it out in the description. So let's talk about harvesting your basil. So what you want to do is you always want to pinch from the top. So if you see right here, see this main stem, right? You want to pinch this off. Let me get even a little closer. Right where it goes to a Y here, I'm actually going to go down a little deeper. But you want to pinch right in front of that. All right. I'm going to give this a pretty good haircut here. And here's another good example. Here's another good example. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm going to do, here's a main stem, and here's where a couple are branching out. Cut it right there. Here's one on the top that isn't too bad. All right. Cut it right there. I actually need a little basil for a big salad I made, so we'll just continue to clip a couple. All right. So look at that. I mean, I've got a ton of basil. What I just clipped in a store is probably about $4 or $5 worth. All right, so I'm just going to lay these down here for now. But I wanted to show you This is an Italian basil. Just put this down here for now. This, my friends, is a red Rubin. And one of the nice things about these pretzels containers is they have a little label on top you could write right on top of it. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, looks like about 7 growing in here. And when I said you're going to put 5 to 7 plants in this size, they'll take care of themselves. The seedlings will be crowded out or shaded out from the ones that are more healthy, that grow faster, and they'll eventually just die, or you can pull them out or cut them out. So this is a red Rubin, and I wanted to get an update, a real up close look at this for you. Let me move the camera. See these flowers? See that? All right, so these are flowering, and what I'm going to do is you just want to cut these off where they're flowering, or below where they're flowering. And you want to get them all, and even if you're not harvesting, if you don't need them, you need to just about once a week or so just check and cut off any of the buds when they're flowering. All right. So you want to pinch off all the buds like I just did, because flowering is going to inhibit or stop your foliage growth. And it's also going to dilute the taste in the leaves, because all the energy has been going to the flower. So you want to make sure you pinch off the flowers. If you don't pinch off the flowers, it sends a signal to the plant that it's reproduced and no more foliage is needed. By pinching back the flowers, you play a little trick on your basil plant. You trick it into thinking that it still needs to make flowers or seeds and to reproduce, and therefore you'll continue to get great foliage and great basil leaves to eat. All right, so we got the red Rubin. I'll put it up here for now. And the last one we have is the lemon basil. And only the red Rubin really is flowering quite a bit. This lemon basil looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plants in here, and we got a 7th that's trying to come up the side. I'll let that go. But for this, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a haircut. So let me get over here. All right, so I'm just going to cut this one lightly. I don't need much more basil. Go out here a little bit. All right. So again, another $3-4 worth of basil. And here's the tip of the day, and it has to do with watering. You want to wait until your plant begins to sag and droop. Then you water, and a couple hours later, it's going to look really good. Now this plant is healthy, so it doesn't need water, and the leaves aren't sagging or drooping. But too much water, and the leaves on the bottom may start to turn yellow. And this plant doesn't have that problem. Too much water, and the plant can't breathe. Basil does not like wet feet. I water these when I see the leaves are drooping and sagging, which turns out to be about twice a week. For some reason, if you want to end the life of your plant and you want to save the leaves for seasoning, you cut the entire plant at soil level, turn it upside down, hang it in a warm, dry room for about a week, then strip the leaves from the stems and store them in an airtight container for up to a year. Don't crumble the leaves until you're ready to use them if you can avoid it. And last, a cooking tip. When adding basil to cooked dishes like spaghetti, wait until just before the spaghetti sauce is done cooking to add the basil for the strongest flavor and the best texture. Hey everybody, I'm Alan Schaefer at Custom Garden Solutions. Our channel's all about helping you grow herbs and vegetables and all kinds of cool garden stuff so that you can live a healthier and happier life. If you're new to the channel and you want to learn all about growing herbs and vegetables and all kinds of cool garden stuff, start today by subscribing, and then so you don't miss anything, hit the notification bell so you know when we release a new episode, because you never know what I'm going to be talking about next.